Well, which leads to
the worst, the
absolute
worst
horrific
one. And we've all done it. We've all done it, and we don't realize that we are setting off a nuclear bomb.
It is a nuclear bomb, and it is sure to destroy not only your relationship,
but it leads to the end of your relationship, and it leads to divorce.
It leads to divorce, but it even does something more than that. It cripples our soul. I mean, this is the worst weapon of all.
This is nuclear.
So, what is that weapon?
That one is mortally wounding someone's identity.
Yeah, so it's even, we may think that taking little pot shots at someone's identity, who they are, their value, their worth, is not going to make that much of a big of a difference, but it really does. I mean, many of us that are listening to this, I know it was true for me too. I mean, in our own childhoods, when our parents say negative words to us, I mean, they really damage us, and it can take years to overcome that.
And in a relationship, this sounds like something that, like, you are the most selfish person I have ever met, or you are disgusting, or I can't believe you.
Yeah, I mean,
fill in the blank.
Another way to think of this, I think for me, that I try to analyze it to try to avoid this weapon, is avoiding absolutes. Like, you know what? People can change. I mean, there's grace for transformation. But when we say, you always do this, or you will never do
change,
this, or you know what,
or
you're always going to be a dirtbag, or you're always going to be a sorry SOB. What we're doing is we're saying that person is worth very little.
Right. We are demeaning their actual identity as a child of the Creator, and we are putting them in a prison of their past.
And you know what? I don't care who you are and how much you think you have going on. When you say that to the person that you're in a relationship with, it greatly hurts them.
Even if you don't think it does, it is mortally wounding their soul.
Now, here's the trickier thing. Let's go back to the turn the other cheek.
Because I actually have some mortal wounds that are 18 years old that I still wake up thinking about.
And think about this, Bethany. I mean, for yourself, same thing true for myself. When I am caught, when someone has mortally wounded me, they're throwing those words at me. Now, I have a choice. I can either use that weapon against them, or I can turn the other cheek and be free of it. But if I choose to use that weapon, at that moment, not only do I wound them, but I become a captive to negativity, to fear, to shame. It lessens my soul, the value of it, and it hurts me as much as it's hurting the other people, and I don't even realize that.
And then we talked about the two corrections, both for women and for men, that we can do to increase intimacy. And for women, we tend to be more nurturing and more manipulative by nature. And don't think of that in a negative way, but for instance, if you want your husband or boyfriend to rub your shoulders, you're more apt to rub his shoulders and hope that he will somehow feel compulsed to rub your shoulders. And, what we need to do is say what we need and what we think, and not try to nurture them into it. And a man is more apt to say your shoulders, my shoulders, your hands right now. And that's why they get more of what they need in a relationship than us females. And so what we have to do to correct that is we have to be willing to ask, like, hey, will you rub my foot, or will you rub my shoulders, or will you do the dishes? I cooked dinner. And we have to be able to ask, even though we think they're supposed to know if we don't ask. And we have to try to be vulnerable and ask for those things that we don't really like to say.
Yeah. Well, I think that's true, which is interesting because it leads to the guy issues, which, guys, look, we got a list that can go a long way, but I'm only hitting two, ladies. And that is, the first thing is, men, when our wife, our girlfriend that we're in a relationship with says something, you need to listen. You need to take seriously what they ask. If they ask you to take out the trash, don't make them ask 5 times. Just do it. Don't be lazy. Get off your behind and go do it. Because every time you do that, you show huge honor, huge respect, which really means I love you. Translates as the same words. But the other thing is, and here's the tricky one, guys, but hang with me, is a lot of times women will say one thing, but that one thing is not what they really mean.
Our initial answer isn't exactly what we're thinking. Like if he comes in to pick me up for a date and says, "How was your day?" I might go, "It was great."
And so if at that moment I go, "Oh, well, I'm glad to hear that." So yeah, about my day, I totally missed an opportunity where what she said was, you heard, it was great. What she said in the tone of her voice was, it was really awful, and I would love to talk about it. Now, if I come back to her and say, it really doesn't sound like it was great, you might even push back on me a little bit and say, no, it really was.
No, it really was.
And I could say, you know what, darling, come on, just tell me. At which, after I kind of probe you a little bit,
or if he says, "I care about you, and it sounds like you didn't have a great day, and I want to hear what's going on," I'm going to be compelled to tell him. I just am.
So there is a fork in the road in almost every conversation, by the way. So there is the what she says, and then the what she means. And you and I both, as guys, it's impossible for us to be mind readers. We don't know how to do that. So here's how you do it. You listen. But if what the tone of her voice is, what her facial expression is, are saying something different than her words, start to ask. Show concern, show compassion, and dig a little deeper. That will go a long way.
And then our last tip for this video.
Yeah, which is huge.
Which is really huge.
We even used it this morning because I messed up.
Is reinforce the positive and share the negatives. It's the only way you learn and grow in a relationship. And it sounds something like this. It doesn't say, "You hurt my feelings when you did this." It sounds like this: "My feelings were hurt when you said this." And it allows him to say, "Wow, I didn't mean to hurt your feelings." And if you can talk in I statements and say, I do the opposite as well. When you came in and cleaned all the dishes without me asking and brought me dinner, it made me feel loved. And so you can positively affirm the things that made you feel amazing, and you can share the things that hurt your feelings in I statements and allow them to change and to grow in the relationship.
Again, here's the simple thing. Weapons are about deflection, about control, about protection. And manipulation. Statements of truth and just being straight to the point are really about love, about transparency. So we can engage in genuine conversation. And here's the formula that she just said. So guys, if you're like me, you need a formula. Here it is. When you did blank, I felt blank. I would like blank. Now, when you use that, don't stop there. Engage in the conversation. How did you feel? Tell me what's important to you. How can I help you and show you that I love you and that you're valuable to me?
And it's entirely different how that conversation goes. Because I got upset yesterday. I started to cry. And I did not say, "You made me cry and you upset me." I said, "I felt unimportant when you did this." And I gave him a chance to respond.
And it caused me to stop and reflect, think about my own actions, think about her feelings, engage with her in a conversation, and really to express how much I love you and how much I care about you. So we were able to dig through that. As a matter of fact, we went to a musical today and we were talking about how even with some of the small little difficult conversations that we've had, how important those are, because it gives us the opportunity to show each other love and to work through those things.
Oh, well, that brings us to HALT, too.
Yeah, so explain that.
Yeah, part of the reason I was emotional is I had come off a 7-hour presentation. 7 hours? It was like having a baby. I was pretty exhausted. HALT stands for hungry, angry, lonely, or tired. If you have any of those things going on, you're going to be more apt to disagree with anyone because your basic needs are in a state. So I was in an emotional state already. And so when you're already in an emotional state, or you're hungry, or you're angry, or you're lonely, or you're tired, those things are going to put you at risk of a higher chance of some disagreement between the two of you.
So in summary, weapons of mass destruction, never use that button. Don't hit the nuclear button. Even the little weapons, don't use it. How can you avoid those? Think about what she said. Use the acronym HALT. Learn how to communicate. Be straightforward, honest, and loving.
In I statements.
Yeah. And I think that makes a big difference. It has for us in our journey. And all of this leads to intimacy. It leads to, as we've talked about it, the Hebrew word is to be known fully and to fully known, yada. And that's what intimacy is about. And when you are living this on a daily basis, it's life-giving. It's awesome. Just like you are.
Oh, have a great week, and we'll see you on the next video.
See you next time.